Yay!
We did it!
That was
You never
drama.
know.
I'm so sorry. I'm all drama over here.
Oh no, you're totally cool. I was actually gonna ask you going to like Zoom and IG Live at the same time, and I thought today may be too complicated. I've been doing that as a backup.
Nice.
Things freaks out. But how are you? Where are you? Tell us all the things.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is incredible. 444 people are here like literally right now. That's a huge
I
turnout.
know.
And they love you. These people
And
are
they
like
love
obsessed
you.
with you. It's so cool.
Oh my God. I mean, thank you so much for joining today. I know we've been trying to sync up, and I don't even know how maybe it wasn't random, maybe it was synchronistic, that I happened upon something that you had posted, and you guys, I had reached out and I said, Dr. B, would you come on and talk about all the things you know, and let's talk about your book? And he said yes. And it was so cool because I didn't realize that we were both featured in this article in Elle about like the immune system and supporting your body, especially during this time of COVID. And it was so cool because I was looking through it and I'm like, wait, that's Dr. B. We're both in the same article. So that was really cool and special.
Yeah, it was really cool because we had like already made plans to like
Yeah,
connect and do this. And the interview for Elle must have happened. I mean, I think it happened in what, like early April or late March, something like that. It was a while
yeah, it
ago.
happened earlier. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think I was already sick when it happened. So I think it was I'd either recovered or no, I was still in the middle of COVID, I think, when she interviewed me. So it was just
Wow.
cool. It was cool that happened, and then we met, and then that got published. So anyway, it's
Really
all
cool.
very, very synchronistic. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you're here, and I would just love for you to give everyone just a little background on you, not just your background professionally, but just how you got
Yeah.
to where you are right now and this book, and you're just glowing. So
Oh, guys, I'm so happy and excited to be here with you. I love all the hearts. You're probably giving all the hearts to Serena, but that's okay. I still love them.
I know
Um, no, give them to Serena. I'll still enjoy seeing them. I think it's fantastic. So I love all the hearts. And guys, I'm Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. I am a GI doctor, a gastroenterologist, and I practice in Charleston, South Carolina. And I guess the story is this. I'll sort of contract the story down to keep it as simple as possible, which is that 10 years ago, like I'm turning 40 this month, and 10 years ago, I'm thinking a lot about this last decade, because 10 years ago, I was 50 pounds overweight. I had high blood pressure. I had a lot of anxiety issues. I was miserable. I needed a way out. And the short of it is I found a plant-based diet,
mm-hmm.
and it transformed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the weight melted off, the anxiety issue went away, my blood pressure normalized, I got my self-esteem back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so radical that I started reading nutrition articles
Mm-hmm.
and then brought the nutrition into my clinic
Mm-hmm.
and started taking care of patients with ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, taking care of them using these same things that had helped me
Mm-hmm.
and seeing their lives radically transform. And it got to the point where, like, Serena, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm just going to be honest. I know this is really weird to say if you know my Instagram persona, but like, I don't really love social media. I would rather be like, if you and I could hang out and have coffee, I would much rather that than be on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and we have all
And
of you guys in the cafe with us hanging out, like real life.
exactly, I wish we could just like have a big shindig and all hang out, and talk. So, but I felt compelled to share the story, and I started my account with zero expectations. My goal was not to be an influencer or anything like that. My goal was just to kind of tell the story of plant-based gut health because I didn't hear anyone talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing led to another. I had a podcast go viral in the summer of 2018 with my friend Plant Proof.
Ah,
And yeah, it's
yes.
crazy. This podcast has been downloaded 250,000 times, or like more than that now.
Wow. So it
It,
started with that though, with the podcast. I didn't know like what the trigger was.
it exploded. I mean, it just like at that point, I had my account for 2 years. I had like 10,000 followers, and then I just started doubling followers fast. And so I was like, look, people are freaking out.
Yeah.
There's an energy to what I'm putting out there,
Mm-hmm.
and the question is, what do you do? I'm a full-time doctor. This is what I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do something kind of ridiculous, and there's a reason why most doctors don't do this. I decided to try to write a book.
Wow.
And I felt like it was the best way for me to structure my thoughts, to really like kind of organize everything in a way that people could consume it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's cool about it, what I love about it, is that when you read this book, I want you guys to know this is like literally a year of my life, and this is the consummation of my entire career coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find it in basically 200 pages of, sort of um, prescriptive nonfiction, and then there's the 80 recipes at the back.
Yeah.
And so I spent a year writing this book, and then it came out. The pandemic hit. My book was scheduled to launch May 12th. I didn't know if they were going to pull the plug on me.
Right. Right.
The publisher was like, "No, we're going forward." I was like, "Oh, okay," because like Rich Roll couldn't do it, and all these other shows that I had lined up couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it was late March. I was moping around. I was a broken man, and I was a broken man. It was like me. It was like the 15-year-old version of me when my first girlfriend broke up with me. I was a broken man, and I got to the point where I was like, "Look, I spent 2 years working on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just got pissed."
Yeah.
And so I just locked it down. I
Uh-huh.
started recording like an animal, as many podcasts as I could.
Uh-huh.
And the book came out May 12th, and it went New York Times. I mean, it was sold out on Amazon within 24 hours.
Wow, I didn't know that. 24
Yeah.
hours? Wow.
Within 24 hours, Amazon had exhausted their supply.
That's amazing.
Um, Barnes and Noble sold out that week. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there were times where like multiple booksellers were all sold out during that first week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made the New York Times, USA Today, and the Publisher's Weekly bestseller list. And it's been fun. I mean, it's been amazing. And the best part about it, honestly, is that when a person reads the book
Mm-hmm.
and they make the changes, and it transforms their health and it transforms their life,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's all about. That's like the
Yeah.
entire reason I wrote the book.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I have just ordered, I haven't received mine yet, but I just ordered it on Amazon as well. And I can't wait to get it and just dive in, especially now with this like backstory to it. And I encourage all of you guys, if you haven't yet ordered the book, go and order this book, especially now you've heard the story. And Dr. B is going to dive into how much it's going to change your life. So, for those of you guys that are just joining sort of now, we've got Dr. B on, and he is our New York Times bestselling author today, and he's talking to us about, and I just kind of briefly put it as a pin there, just plant-powered gut health, but it's more than just gut health. It is the health and optimization of your entire life, and he's living proof of it. And he just gave us a very brief but awesome story about the changes that he did and how it has literally transformed his life. And he's still a doctor and he's still doing that, but he's transformed his practice. So, Dr. B, I know that you said this has been 2 years of your life in the making, and that the book it kind of sums up, right, everything that you've done up to this point. Give us some nuggets. What are some giant, like, don't give us the takeaways, we want people to read the book, but what are some of these tips that seem so basic? And I know I share a lot with my community, but I'd like to hear from you, your perspective on the plant-based diet. And I'm also plant-based, so we share the same philosophy, but I would love for you to share with the community what you think, your perspective on it.
The thing about it is that, so the book on the cover, it says plant-based gut health.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about it is that, like, when the publisher puts out the book, they're looking for certain key terms that are going to like sell the book.
Right.
From my perspective, you know what I mean? But from my perspective, it's just gut health. Like this is the way that our body works.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way that we have a relationship with these invisible microbes that you can't see them, but you guys, like, literally on my thumb, there are as many microbes right there as there are people in the UK. you know And you can't see them, but they're there. And they cover us from the top of our head to the tip of our toes, but they're mostly concentrated in our gut.
Mhm.
And they are our friends. They want to see us successful. They are our biggest cheerleaders. But the issue is that you can't like just, flog your friends and not call them back and just be a horrible human being to them and then expect that they're still going to want to take care of you when you need them. You got to take care of your friends if you want them to take care of you. And the way that we take care of our gut is to feed it. It's very simple.
Yep.
You have to feed it. They're as alive as you and I are, and they need energy just like us.
Mhm.
If you don't feed us, we starve. And when we starve, we grow weaker, and at some point, we are not capable of doing our jobs.
Mhm.
And that's true for them too.
Mhm.
That these microbes, they need to be fed so that they can be energized
Mhm.
and they can do their job, which is take care of our health. And,
Right.
for the 400 people who are here, many of you know me already, but our gut is so connected
Mhm.
to everything in our body. Start with digestion. I mean, it's easy to sort of like just take that for granted. That's access to nutrients.
Mhm.
That is life.
Mhm.
Like, you can't live without access to nutrients. And we trust these microbes to do that for us. They
Mhm.
help us to process and unpack our food and get the most nutritional value out of it.
Mhm.
They're connected to our immune system,
Mhm.
to our metabolism, like our weight balance. They're connected to our hormones
Mhm.
and even to our mood and our brain health.
Mhm. And I'm glad that you said that. It's something that I talk a lot about as well. That it's not just your digestion and absorption of your nutrients, but it connects to our hormones, our adrenals, our our cognitive, abilities, our brain that we talk about leaky gut and leaky brain. So some people don't really understand microbiome. And I know that you just touched upon it with your thumb and head, example. But could you really give like an explanation to the people out there? What exactly is the microbiome? What makes up the microbiome, and why do we need to keep it so diverse?
So the microbiome, we're talking about these invisible microbes. When I say microbes, if you had a microscope, you could pull it out and you could take a look and see these guys, but the
Mm-hmm.
naked eye can't pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there, and they're mostly bacteria. All right, mostly bacteria, but it also includes fungi, which are yeast, and potentially parasites
Mm-hmm.
and archaea.
Mm-hmm.
Archaea are these single cellular organisms that are not quite bacteria, not quite yeast, and they're quite fascinating. Like, I'm kind of into archaea. They're very, because I think they're cool. And
Uh-huh.
I'm a nerd. And I'm a nerd. So,
I'm good that. I'm a total nerd too. I
okay,
just
cool.
Archaea.
I like nerds. So archaea, the story is this: they found this excavation site in Greenland
Mm-hmm.
where, when they dug it up, they found evidence of archaea that were 4 billion years old.
Whoa.
Okay. And they believe that this is the first evidence of life on our planet. Now, what's fascinating is to consider that there's only been oxygen for 2.5 billion years. All right. These archaea lived on a scorched earth for 1.5 billion years before
Wow.
we even had oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find them in weird places. Like, you'll find them inside of a volcano. You'll find them at the bottom of the ocean within a rift vent.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow they've decided to take up residence within our colon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all these things, they're inside our large intestine, which is our colon.
Mm-hmm.
And the number is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The number is 39 trillion. Now, like, these are, I feel like I'm Dr. Evil in Austin Powers, like $1 bazillion. Like, so 39 trillion, to try to put this in perspective, take our universe, take every single star within that universe, and you and every single one of the people on this call with us right now, we would need 100 Milky Ways, 100 universes full of stars to equal the number of microbes that we have living in our colon literally right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are so ridiculous, and they outnumber our human cells.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are less than 50% human.
And we're more microbes. And
We're
so,
more microbe than a human.
yeah. And people like have a really, I mean, that's something that people can't grasp. You know, you can't even grasp that number. And because it's something that you can't see, it's sort of even harder to grasp.
Right.
But I think because of that, because it doesn't seem like it's something that you can connect to, it's not terribly tangible. That's why people forget how important
Yep.
it is to feed them, you know, and to feed them the right foods and the right nutrients.
That's exactly right. And so these microbes, they thrive. Their preferred food is fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And they are picky eaters. Okay? Seriously. There's all these species of microbes, and they all have their own unique personal taste of
Mm-hmm.
what they want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to give you an example, when you eat black beans, there are specific populations of bacteria. The scientists, like the nerdy scientists like me, they call them a guild. There's these specific populations of bacteria that thrive because you ate black beans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not universally true for all foods. Like
Right,
it would be different microbes that thrive when you eat kale.
right, right.
But their preferred food is fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, I hate to like ring the alarm bell, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have to because the preferred food of our microbiome is fiber, but the average person in North America is only 10% plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I don't count processed food as a plant. Like, I'm
Nobody,
sorry.
nobody counts that. Not, we don't count processed foods as plants here, you guys. I think my
Yeah.
audience knows that.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, it has to be something that you could actually grow. Um, so we're only 10% plant-based, and when you look at fiber, it's like kind of pathetic. We're probably the most fiber deficient
Mm-hmm.
society
Yeah,
in the history of humanity, like
yeah.
literally, because we're getting on average 15 to 18 grams of fiber. 97% of us, 97% are deficient in fiber. And when you compare us, 15 to 18 grams of fiber
Mm-hmm.
per person, compare us to, like, for example, there's this tribe of hunters and gatherers that live in Tanzania
Mm-hmm.
called the Hadza.
Okay.
All right, and the Hadza are quite interesting because I don't think 30 years from now that they'll still have a tribe. They're falling apart, but because many of them are leaving the tribe and integrating into society and are like getting iPhones.
Mm.
But the Hadza live the way that we lived
Mm-hmm.
for the vast majority of human history, which
Mm-hmm.
is that they don't have organized agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So they make for an interesting case study to say, well, what do they eat? Here's what they eat: more than 100 grams of fiber per day
Wow, it's a lot.
during a year. So, like out of curiosity, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean to put you on the spot, Serena, I
Mm-hmm.
want to extend this question to everyone on this call, all 391 of you.
Mm-hmm.
Think to yourself, how many different varieties of plants do you get on a yearly basis in your diet?
I mean, we're very fortunate. I'm in Santa Monica, California. So we have amazing farmers markets here. We have local farmers. So, I mean, I feel very privileged and also blessed because we really have access to a very wide range. It's just about whether or not you choose them. Um, but I know that that access isn't available for everyone. So, actually, and kind of jumping on that, let's say you live somewhere that you don't have access to as wide of a range of plants and vegetables as we do here, you know, in Southern California. So what would at least I tell my audience at least eat the rainbow, you know, if you can't remember what things to choose, try throughout the course of a day. You've had enough different fruits and vegetables, and primarily vegetables, that kind of make up the rainbow. And that's because I talk about my practice is culinary alchemy. For me, the rainbow is more than just the nutrition and all the nutrients. It's also, of course, your energy, your energetic body, and your spiritual nutrition, your chakra nutrition. But what would you say, if someone, because we're getting all these comments coming in, and I have questions that preceded us starting the live, just about like what to eat. They see someone says I eat a lot of fruits, nuts, seeds. Am I getting enough fiber? Like, what are, say, 5 things that you would say hit at least these 5 vegetables if you can't get as wide variety as we can here in LA or in some other place, or if you're not growing your own vegetables?
Okay. Yeah. So the good news is that I actually created an acronym to help people remember
Ah,
the sort
brilliant.
of foundation. Yeah, these are the foundational foods for a healthy gut microbiome from my perspective. All right. And for me, if I wake up in the morning and I have this in the back of my mind, like here are my best friends. These plants are my best friends, and I want to make sure that I connect with my best friends, if not every day, at least a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my acronym is F goals. F for
Goals.
fiber. Yeah, F goals.
Okay.
All right, like
I
F
like
for
that.
fiber. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, all right. So F stands for fruit and fermented.
Fruits and fermented. Mm-hmm.
Okay. G stands for greens
Grains.
and whole grains.
Whole grains.
Whole grains.
Mm-hmm.
O stands for omega-3 super seeds.
Omega-3 super seeds, you guys.
Flax, chia, and hemp. Flax, chia, and hemp.
Mm-hmm.
A stands for aromatics, which are the flavor foods. So garlic, onions, shallots.
Mm-hmm.
L stands for legumes. All right.
Okay.
So dirt cheap. You can get them at your store. You can get them anywhere.
Shelf
And
stable. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they're so good for the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And then S, I'm going to apologize to you. I had a lot that I wanted to say, and I got to S. I was like, oh crap, it's the last letter. I got to say some stuff. So I lost my mind, and I have 3 for S. Okay, I have 3.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right, shrooms.
Shrooms.
Shrooms are not plants. They're not plants, but we're making them honorary plants because we love them. We're going to
Love
include them. Yeah.
it every day. Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's one that I think is a great opportunity for people. Seaweed or sea veg.
Love seaweed.
You can order it off the internet. You can get it from Amazon, and it's
Yeah.
non-perishable, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so good. And the beauty is if you truly eat a plant-based diet, the
Mm-hmm.
sea vegetables round out your diet with certain specific nutrients like B12 and iodine that are hard to find in other places. So
Yep.
that's what's really cool. And then my last one, possibly the best for last, my favorite, is sulforaphane, which
Mm-hmm.
is
Say it
super
slow.
nerdy, but that is the cancer fighting phytochemical. Like this is the most powerful cancer fighter that I've come across. This is the cancer fighting phytochemical that you will find in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, arugula. But there is one superior source. The superior source of sulforaphane
Mm-hmm.
is broccoli sprouts. Broccoli sprouts have up to 100 times the amount of sulforaphane that you will find in mature adult broccoli. So you could eat like a big old head of broccoli, or you could eat a little pinch of broccoli sprouts and get the same amount of sulforaphane.
That's actually, I bet you that's news to a lot of moms out there who are having a hard time getting broccoli on their kids' plates. We can just switch them over to some sprouts. And the amount they need to eat is so much less, right?
It's so much less, and you can sneak them into a smoothie. Hide them in. This is what we do in our family.
Mm-hmm.
Is my wife will make a big smoothie and just throw some broccoli sprouts in there, and you can put all the blueberries you want. Put a
Mm-hmm.
frozen banana in there. The kids love it. Everyone wins.
It's so brilliant, brilliant. And that's actually something, not Brussels sprouts are great too, but not, it doesn't have the highest amount. So
Right.
I think we had a couple people asking if you could pronounce it again. Slow.
Oh, okay. Here we go. All right, you ready, guys?
Okay,
So
ready?
I'm gonna type it in.
Perfect.
Sulforaphane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My iPhone is familiar with this word. It autocorrects me to sulforaphane because I've typed it so many times now. So yeah.
Awesome.
This is a chapter in my book. So this is a chapter in my book, Fiber Fueled. So fruit and fermented, greens and whole grains,
Mm-hmm.
omega super seeds, aromatics like onions, garlic. L for legumes.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, S, I lost my mind, shrooms, seaweed, sea veg,
Mm-hmm.
and sulforaphane, meaning cruciferous vegetables,
Yes.
broccoli sprouts.
Broccoli sprouts, highest one. So you guys, yes, I've had so many comments say, will you save this? Yes, we save all of them. Well, I'll let you know. I haven't like posted when, but I do post them. So stay tuned on my stories. I always share when the replays are ready, and we kind of like make them sort of pretty, and we'll put some captions on there, and then and I'll let you guys know when they're ready. But that was really, really helpful. Let me just scroll up really quick. Perfect. That was really helpful. And actually, I love F goals. Like F goals is so easy to remember. Do you guys F goals and rainbow, like, and you're set.
Goes
And
hand in
water.
hand.
Don't forget water. So
Yeah.
my brain is scrolling now. Don't worry, you guys. It will be reposted. We'll have all of that. We'll have all the information as well. And we're not anywhere near done yet. Just putting this into the middle of it. But we'll have all of Dr. B's information as well, like where you can find him. He'll announce it towards the end of this as well, where you can get his book. I recommend everybody go get this book because I think, well, I know there's so much information in it that'll be beneficial, but I think there's really good steps that change your life. And this is like the perfect time right now, especially
Yeah.
during, COVID. And it's so important, as I talk about every single day, that we really strengthen and support and do things to keep our immune system strong. And that's coming from someone who had it, obviously, like a lot of you guys know. And the number one thing is, just keep your immune system strong, and you'll be okay. I know that is my personal disclaimer. I can't say that about everybody. There's obviously a lot of people who are not. But for yourself, if you're healthy and you have no pre-existing conditions, keep your immune system strong. Eat your fiber. Let's see what else there is. There's tons. For greens, which ones do you recommend? So, Dr. B, for greens, which ones do you recommend?
All of them.
Good.
So
Me too.
yeah, yeah. So the beautiful thing about greens, and this is one of the things that I get into in the book, is it's actually mind blowing
Mm-hmm.
how many different varieties of greens exist.
So many, yeah.
There are so many, and even ones that you wouldn't necessarily realize. So like
Mm-hmm.
for example, there's many vegetables that you buy the vegetable and you discard the leaves, and you don't need to because you could eat the leaves, and that
Yeah.
includes like beets are an example of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the point from my perspective, here's what I love about greens. Okay, this is my number one thing with greens. They are like they're like free nutrients. And what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is that you have a ridiculous, obscene amount of nutrition with almost no calories.
Mm-hmm.
So let me put this into perspective. If I had a pound of oil, okay, guys, if I had a pound of oil, that would be 4,000 calories in 1 pound.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how many calories there are in 1 pound of kale? 100.
I was
A
just gonna say
hundred.
it's 85, but
Yeah.
100 pounds, yeah.
So you have 40 calories in oil for every 1 calorie in the greens or in the kale when you compare them like ounce for ounce, which is completely absurd when you think about it because there's way more nutrition in an ounce of kale than there is in an entire pound of oil.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I love about it. If you're trying to lose weight, greens are your best friend.
I know, and you guys talk about greens all the time, and it's part of what my daily regimen is and what I recommend as well. And I have a recipe. I mean, there's a million recipes for green juice, but don't dump the fiber. Use it, make something out of it. I always throw it in the oven. You can throw it in the oven and put it on super, super low, and just kind of let it bake. And you can ignore it and do other things, and then you have crispy treats after.
Oh my
So
gosh, you're so good. What kind of spices do you put on those? I'm just curious.
I use this, so I do different things. I like turmeric. I like spicy too, so I do like cayenne, sometimes cumin. It just depends what the flavors are that I kind of feel like. And everyone's got a Trader Joe's by them. Everyone in the U.S. has a Trader Joe's by them. But for those of you who are not in the U.S., I know a lot of you aren't. Trader Joe's has a spice that's called seasoning salute, and it's basically just a blend of saltless herbs and spices, and I think there's 30 of them. So I think there's a version of that everywhere, and it's just basically like 30 different dried herbs, everything you can think of, tons of garlic and onions as well, dried. So that's what I usually put in like the juice pulp, and then you can
That sounds
just
so good.
it's good, or put it in a dehydrator, or like in an air fryer or something like that, and then you have these great snacks, and you get all your fiber, and you also get your juice. So you have variety that way. Um,
Win-win.
there's been so many people that have asked, how do I reset my gut? So we have our people who have not, this is the beginning of their journey, right? Like they are just finally figuring out that they need to clean up their diet. So there are those people that need to reset their gut, and then there are the people that have sort of been working on it, and they eat well, relatively well and healthy, but they're still having some issues, you know. So what would you recommend to both groups of people? And I know it's very generalized and it's hard to really just kind of make something blanket, but just maybe like a few starting points.
Well, you know, I think that for me, no matter who you are, to me, this is about meeting you where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I really wrote this book, to be honest with you, Serena, to connect to the person who is me
Mm-hmm.
from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And me 10 years ago, I was eating the standard American diet. My favorite foods were processed meats.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take that person who's 10% plant-based
Mm-hmm.
and I want to help them get to 30 and then go from 30 to 50. And I will be their biggest cheerleader and biggest fan every single step along the way. So, but there's some people who are like, look, I'm already vegan
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I'm looking for the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And the next level does exist, okay? And to me, what it is bringing the diversity into your diet.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to become complacent in your diet and just eat the same foods over and over and over again. Diversity is proportional. Diversity of plants is proportional to the diversity of microbes in our gut,
Mm-hmm.
which is a measure of the health of our microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
We want that biodiversity. And so the next level for the person who's already eating plant-based
Mm-hmm.
is to start introducing more dietary diversity. Well, guess what? That's also true for the person who's 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like this. If you're feeling well, fantastic. Let's move the needle. Let's move the needle. Let's take it to the next level. Let's start ramping up dietary plant-based diversity. Let's start getting more. And let's start moving in this direction. And if you are someone who is not 100% plant-based, which I would expect most of you are not,
Mm-hmm.
then what we want to look to do is we want to try to get the processed food out as quickly as possible, start to replace that with plants. Don't put too much pressure on ourselves. Low and slow is sort of the process, meaning that you introduce this and you take it one day, one step at a time. It doesn't need, there's no timeline. This is about the trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is about the direction that we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to get you moving in that direction, one foot in front of the other towards your ultimate goal. Now, I talked about this in the book. Chapter 5 is called How to Find Your Plant Passion with a Sensitive Gut. There's a lot of people who get gas and bloating when they consume these foods. And they're saying, well, doc, what's the scoop there? Well, the first thing is, like, if you come to my clinic,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to listen to your story and then go, okay, plant-based diversity, thanks, I'll see you later. Like, some people, we need to see if there's something going on from a digestive perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that may require a workup by a gastroenterologist in your community. That may include, you may want to make sure that there's no celiac disease.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely common these days.
Mm-hmm.
And you also want to, if you have a lot of gas and bloating, I'm going to tell you guys right now, the number one cause of gas and bloating that I come across in my clinic is constipation.
Mm-hmm.
And not every person who's constipated even realizes
Mm-hmm.
that they're constipated, because you could poop every day
Mm-hmm.
and still be constipated, which sounds really weird. But the way that I can tell is I'll ask the patient, okay, when you go, do you feel like you completely empty?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or do you feel like it's a partial bowel movement and there's still some left in there? And they'll say to me, doc, I go every day. I don't think I'm constipated, but yeah, I don't feel like I'm completely empty when I go. It's like, yes, you are constipated, because when you back up, when you don't completely empty, you back up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you back up and you compound that, let's say that you eliminate 70%, but you trap 30%.
Mm-hmm.
That 30% starts compounding day after day. And you end up in a place where now you're super backed up and constipated. and that's driving the gas and bloating.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, from my perspective, if there's constipation, we need to get that out of the equation, because no matter who you are, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to feel food sensitivity if you're constipated and you try to introduce more plants, more fiber, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, and I'm so glad that you said that, sir. So many messages are coming in. I mean, I don't even, I can't even read them fast enough. I'm not sure if you're getting all of them, but I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think what's really important is that, you know, a lot of people are coming out of their homes, but a lot of people are also staying in and just being more conscientious of staying in more. So what are some things that you can immediately do? You can dial into yourself and check, are you constipated? Like what you said, you know, when you go, when you release, do you feel like it's all gone? If it's not, that's a place to start, right? Um, if it's not, you know, what would your recommendations be? Do you just add fiber? Do you start? I always tell all my people, you know, drink more water, because most people are very dehydrated. I would say the average person comes to me dehydrated. Um, and that sometimes that can lead to constipation amongst other things, and just not enough healthy flora, and it also depends the type of foods that they're eating. But what would you say if, so let's say someone does, you know, checks in on themselves and they realize that they are not releasing everything, they're
Yeah.
constipated.
Okay. So, you know, there's sort of an approach that's individualized. So, you know, it goes without saying that, like, I'm not giving you guys medical advice right now. I'm just kind of telling you the way that I approach these issues. This is just education. But um, for me, what I like as an initial approach
Mm-hmm.
is I want to get things going,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get my patient into a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I will have them do a little flush, a little cleanse to
Mm-hmm.
get what's in there out. Okay.
Okay.
And a simple way to do that could be magnesium citrate.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy it, it's like a 16-ounce bottle. You buy it over the counter,
Yeah.
com completely over the
Yeah.
counter.
Yes.
Tastes like lemon lime, and you drink that, and it'll give you a couple bowel movements. Okay, that gets you started. And then you chase this with, on on a daily basis, you take a magnesium supplement before bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be magnesium citrate, magnesium sulfate. It could be calm magnesium. Many people do that. Yep. Someone said, does magnesium sulfate work? Yes, it does.
I use magnesium glycinate, so
Okay.
it's something that it's calming, and then by the next morning, you know, it can help you
Yes.
more instead of
And
stomach issues when you're sleeping.
and that's exactly right, Serena, which is that when you take this before bedtime, you will basically set yourself up for a good bowel movement in the morning. Like, you're not going to wake up if you take magnesium before bedtime and you're just taking a magnesium pill. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to wake up in the middle of the night to go number two. You're going to wake up in the morning and be ready to go and have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by the way, I apologize. I get very comfortable talking about poop, and so I have to stop myself and like say, I'm sorry. This is what I do for a living. So I get so
That's
comfortable
okay,
that
you guys. They know who you are. They've tuned in, and this is. I mean, we're just you guys. We're just keeping it real. I mean, we're talking about gut health, and poop is related.
I'm the poop whisperer. So
um, So no, I mean I think that's important. In this, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a gastroenterologist, and so I'm a nutritionist. But this is one of the things I talk to my clients about. It's one of the first questions, you know, and it's part of the information anyone who's a practitioner in this space at all needs to know in order to help someone feel better. So I think it's more than just relevant. It's important, and we're comfortable talking about it here. So, and I have a lot of questions already. You know, some people say magnesium gives them diarrhea. I think you need to check which type of magnesium and how much you're taking. Is that correct, Dr. B?
so magnesium is a cathartic. Magnesium is going to make you go number two. All right. So if you're constipated, then what you're doing is you're helping to mobilize that stool and get it out and get yourself into a better rhythm with the magnesium. If you're not constipated, taking too much magnesium may in fact give you diarrhea, and that's because you're taking an excessive amount of magnesium and
Mm-hmm.
you just don't need that much.
Mm-hmm.
One of the tricks that you can do that I like is to balance the magnesium. So oftentimes with my patients, if they're taking magnesium, I will also have them take a fiber supplement.
Mm,
And I like acacia powder
Mm-hmm.
or wheat dextrin
Mm-hmm.
or partially hydrolyzed guar gum. And what I'll do is I'll actually put them into my coffee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You literally can't even tell that they're in there. They dissolve, they have no taste.
Mm-hmm.
The soluble fiber helps to give form to the stool and keep things moving through. So it helps with the consistency, it helps with the shape, and it helps to stop you from getting diarrhea from taking the magnesium.
Mm-hmm. And those are all really important tips. And for you guys who may, because we've seen the number fluctuate, may have just popped on and we're talking poop, there's a reason, because we're talking about how you can reset your gut. And we're talking about Dr. B's book, which is so important and a perfect guide to all of this. And so part of that is knowing whether or not you have cleared your system, you pooped it all out and left some of it in. And so this is why we're talking about that. I would also say that, I talk about lemon water a lot. We talk about celery juice. What are your thoughts on celery juice?
The celery juice is something that to me is clearly hydrating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's value to that because I think that we live in a dehydrated society
Yes.
where we
I
don't,
agree.
we
Literally.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I see, from my perspective, the way I see it is this: there's only one downside to celery juice,
Mm-hmm.
which is the cost.
Well, and sodium, I think, right? What are
It
your
does,
thoughts?
it does have some sodium. For some patients, particularly if you have like congestive heart failure or high blood pressure, then you may not want too much of it. But from my perspective, like if you want to do the celery juice, that's fine. What I personally do is I wake up in the morning and I do 2 large glasses of water with a squeeze of lemon, and I
Yes.
feel so much better.
And these guys know that too. This is what I talk about all the time. See, Dr. B also does that. And
Yep.
you feel better and you hydrate your system, you get things going, get things moving. I would also say, what are your thoughts on Irish moss? Because that's, obviously a sea vegetable I love. It has so many different benefits to it. It also helps with your mucous membrane, which I know is all a part of our full system. And so what are your thoughts on that? Because it was something that I wanted to share here, but definitely wanted to know what you thought as well.
I love it. I mean, I love it. So what I love about sea vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
Irish moss is just one example, is
Mm-hmm.
that they're all unique in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the nutritional profile of these plants,
Oh, they're
they
awesome.
have unique stuff that you will not find in our land, in our terrestrial land-driven plants, including unique types of fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Serena, they've actually studied, it's quite interesting. They've studied and found that people in Japan
Mm-hmm.
have unique characteristics within their microbiome
Mm-hmm.
because of the sea vegetables that they're routinely consuming that we don't eat in the United States.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. That makes so much sense too. Um, but this is something, you guys, that we can introduce into our diets because you can buy them dehydrated literally off of Amazon. So,
Exactly.
as Dr. B had mentioned earlier, I get mine off Amazon if I can't get it from my local stores. There's been a lot of comments, and would you mind if I just kind of scrolled through and threw out some questions for you that are on here? So many
Let's
questions,
go.
you guys.
Let's go.
You guys
Rock and
are
roll.
awesome. Okay, so we talked about magnesium, citrate, glycinate. They're all good. Let's see, freshly. Well, you guys are. It's scrolling too fast for me. What brand do you recommend for magnesium?
I don't have a specific. I don't have a specific brand that I would endorse. I mean, to be honest with you, for each individual person,
Mm-hmm.
the
Different ones.
key exactly, and it's about
I would
titration. It's about adjusting the dose for your body. Yeah,
your thoughts on psyllium husk?
I'm fine with psyllium husk. I like psyllium husk. So the issue with psyllium husk, the reason why I tend to not recommend it as much as the alternative choices
Mm-hmm.
is that psyllium husk always has that sort of gelatinous element to it and some grit.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, that's a major turnoff.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's going to stop you from consuming your fiber supplement,
Mm-hmm.
then to me, the beauty of soluble fiber that you will find in, for example, in acacia powder, is
Mm-hmm.
that soluble fiber is prebiotic fiber. It feeds the microbiome.
Yep.
So you don't have to pinch your nose and force down the psyllium husk if you don't want to. Just get
Right.
the soluble fiber, and the soluble fiber does everything that you need it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Serena, one thing real quick. I noticed a couple people asked about inulin, so I want to comment real quick on
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Actually, and it was so funny because that definitely commented that because someone else had asked me about that a few days ago, and it's
Yeah.
my products as well. So let's. I want to hear you talk about it.
So the issue with inulin, so with inulin, inulin is a prebiotic. Inulin has characteristics. It's very actually sweet if you taste it. And it has characteristics that are very similar to these other prebiotic fibers that I'm talking about, like acacia powder and wheat dextrin and things like that. The only thing that I will warn you guys about inulin is that if you go hard on the inulin, it is extremely gas producing.
Yeah.
So if you put too much in all at once, just I'm going to warn you that's going to happen.
But there's natural forms of inulin as well. You know, it's found in chicory root. It's found in different types of vegetables. It's also found in like artichokes. You know, it's in. You can find it naturally as well. So if you have that option, you guys like always try and choose the whole food option first. And if you don't have that option, like Dr. B says, you need to be conscientious and mindful of the amount because it can have unpleasant digestive effects, right? So, okay, dosage of magnesium, I think that's a per person thing, right?
Right?
Um,
Yep.
let's see. Okay, is this in his book? You guys, you got to get his book. All this information is going to be in there. His acronym,
All this and a lot more, to be honest with you.
so much. How does fasting help your gut microbiome?
It's great for the gut. Okay, so here's something really cool. Um, that, okay, all life on this planet has a circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
That includes us. So when I say circadian rhythm, what I mean is that we have been trained to function differently based upon the time of day relative to the rise and fall of the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So all life on this planet has a circadian rhythm. So that includes us as humans, that includes the trees outside and the plants, the grass,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes these microbes that live inside of us. They have a circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And that can affect the digestion of our food.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you an example. I find this to be quite fascinating.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm fascinated right now. This is like new. This is not information I've nerded out on yet. So please,
I'm such a nerd. So
I love it.
if you take a person
Uh-huh.
and you feed them literally the exact same meal,
Mm-hmm.
but different times of day.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you give them this meal at 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
versus 8 p.m.
Okay.
You will see their blood sugar spike
Yeah.
much more at 8 p.m. than you will at 8 a.m.
Right.
Because of our circadian rhythm, and we get insulin resistant
Mm-hmm.
as the day goes on. We are most insulin sensitive early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it back to the gut microbes, they're alive like you and I are, right? If you kept us up 24 hours a day, that's a form of torture where our body doesn't function like that.
Mm-hmm.
We need a break. We need our rest. And guess what? These microbes, they need a break. They need their rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, the right way to do this is try to the best of your ability to have an early dinner.
Mm-hmm.
By early, I mean like before 7:30 in the morning. Or, before 7:30 in the evening, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
Before 7:30 in the evening, it doesn't have to be 5:30, but like 6, 6:30, 7, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look, if you're gonna have dessert, you're gonna have some chocolate after dinner, have it right after dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just make a rule. Water only, water only after from that point forward for at least 3 hours before bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty is that if you do this, it is so easy to get yourself to a 12-hour fast.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you have reset your microbiome. And then you can start your day fresh in the morning. For me, it starts with a couple of glasses of water, like we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I personally, I think that everyone should use some intuition in how they approach this. There's no one rule for everyone. But I personally, most days, will have coffee in the morning with my prebiotic fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll put some spices in there, like I'll put like ashwagandha and some maca powder in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I typically will not eat breakfast most days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally comfortable. And then I eat at lunchtime. And so for me, that ends up being about 16 hours.
That's great. I was just talking to Dr. Perlmutter yesterday, and we were talking about, because he's doing a challenge, and we were talking about fasting a bit and the hours. What are your thoughts, and that's because I've seen a few comments roll up, about medication and supplements when you're fasting? And is that okay, not just for the fast, but is that also okay for your gut if you are trying to do a fast?
Okay, so that's a good question. When we talk about fasting,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this is something that you can appreciate, but I want to unpack this a little bit for the 400 people that are here and hanging out with us right now.
You guys are awesome, by the way.
Um, when you fast, to me, in my mind, there's two different things that we are working on with the fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One is we're giving the gut a break.
Mm-hmm.
So we're resting the gut. So what that means is, as much as possible, we want to minimize the amount that we put into our mouth and send down. Because anything other than water that we send down to our gut is bioactive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, like taking a pill that is prescribed by a medical doctor to take before bedtime, take your pill before bedtime and don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't have to be so perfect that we try to do things against the doctor's recommendations.
Right.
But I think the point from my perspective is that when we're resting our gut,
Mm-hmm.
anything other than water is going to alter our microbiome to some degree.
But what about the coffee that you had mentioned,
So
and
coffee,
also tea?
tea.
But it's minimal.
So right, and so these things, what I like to do is like the fast for the microbiome doesn't need to be 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For the microbiome, I like to give it a solid 10 or 12-hour break. I'm just giving my gut some rest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, coffee and tea in their own unique way both have polyphenols
Mm-hmm.
that are prebiotic and will change the microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no reason to say, hey, I'm not going to drink coffee in the morning or I'm not going to drink tea. If you enjoy coffee or you enjoy tea, go ahead and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But the second part of this equation, so that's the sort of microbiome aspect of that. And to me, I'm shooting for about 12 hours of rest for my microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
The second element of this to me is metabolic switching.
Mm-hmm.
It is getting into fat burning mode.
Yeah.
All right. And fat burning mode is not something that you disrupt by having a cup of coffee or that you disrupt by having tea or by taking a supplement or by taking your medications. You don't disrupt fat burning mode. The way that you disrupt fat burning mode is by the consumption of food,
Mm-hmm.
specifically carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
And so from my perspective, that's where the 16 hours for me, not that I'm like rigid about 16, but this is where I'm having my coffee in the morning, but most days I'm not having a breakfast
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to extend the sort of caloric fast
Right.
for a few more hours so that I can
Right.
get myself in the fat burning mode for a few hours before I go to have lunch.
Right. So thank you. That was it's such a great answer. And you guys, Instagram may throw us off in about 2 minutes. So I want to say thank you to everyone right now. We're going to talk until it kicks us off. But so, fast 12 hours to let the gut rest and then maybe 16. So if you need to take your supplements, do it between the 12 and 16-hour window. If you want to take your supplements, if you're fasting. So we've already had a couple people comment that they bought your book during this. So yay,
Nice. Hey.
whoever did that, that's awesome. I know that you guys still have so many more questions. Dr. B, will you let everyone know where they can find you? I know I have it pinned, but just let them know where they can find all your information. You guys follow him on Instagram. He's just a wealth of knowledge.
Okay, so I'm going to write in. Someone asked, what is the book called? So the book is called Fiber Fueled.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And my website is, I'm going to write this in right now. It is theplantfedgut.com. And I am super excited, well, for a number of reasons. One is that I got a ton of great resources at my website that you guys can check out. I send out emails where I dissect studies. I sent one out yesterday where I broke down this study about proton pump inhibitors and COVID-19.
Awesome.
And I got a COVID-19 guide. I have a clinical research guide, all for free at my website. And then the last thing that I'm excited to say real quick before we get kicked off is that I have a course that I'm launching in about a month.
Ah,
And
awesome.
I can't wait to share it. It's like everything that I think you guys need to know. It goes way beyond the book. It expands. I take deeper dives where I need to take deeper dives. There's things that I wanted to put in the book that I didn't have space to put in there. You'll
Mhm.
find it in the course. The bottom line is it's going to be really cool. And I've actually beta tested it twice with people and had amazing results. So I can't wait to share it with a larger group.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I mean, congratulations on the book. You guys, my most recent post obviously is all about Dr. B. You have the name of his book, you have his Instagram account there, and then when we release this replay, you'll have all the links to everything. I think they're probably going to kick us off in about 30 seconds. So, Dr. B, it was awesome, awesome, awesome to have you on. And if you want, like when your course launches, like let me know. We can do another. So,
Let's do it again. That would be
yeah,
fantastic. No, because there's so many questions. I mean, gosh, 400 people. Thank you
I
guys
know.
for coming. I'm so honored. This is
You guys are
fantastic.
awesome. And there's so many. So you guys, if you didn't have your questions answered, either send it to Dr. Direct, send it to me. You've got my number. Text me, 310, 31, what's my number? 31, hello? it's on my profile, but 31, I think it's 317-7852. I'm on the spot right now. So anyway, go ahead, text me, DM me, DM Dr. B. He answers. He's awesome. If you have any more questions, just let us know, and we'll get back to you on that. And stay tuned to my stories. I'll let you know when the replay goes and when we're going to have Dr. B on again.
Amazing. Thank you so
Okay.
much. So
Thank you
fun.
so much. All right, you guys. Thanks. Bye.